everybody, and welcome to another episode of Yeah, We Read It. My name's Laura, and I'm one of the hosts.
My name is Meggie, and I am the other host.
And we are blazing through this summer by reading Jenny Han's Summer Trilogy. It's the summer I turned pretty. It's not summer without you, and we'll always have summer. Spoiler alert: this is the third book. If you're just starting on this episode, interesting, but we'll root for you. This is the final book in the trilogy.
This is the final book. Their memory does live with us, and the season 2 of will always have summer, but the summer I turned pretty is coming out. So
Yeah,
their memory lives on. But for us, this will be the end of our journey, aside from the wrap up that we have next week.
yeah,
And
yeah.
boy, has it been a journey.
Oh
Where
my
we,
gosh,
I
yeah.
I've had a blast. I've had a really good time.
This was such a fun summer book. I feel like we have read so many different types of YA, but there's not many like summer specific YA books, you know? Like there's not any like YA like it's a summer romance, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I would argue that most YA books are not set in the summer just
No, they're always set in
because,
the school year. Most YA
yeah,
skip the summer. Like remember all of the click books, all the private series, they would just
yeah,
be like, and it's fall again.
because you got to get to that winter dance. You got to get to the
Ugh,
winter dance and prom. That's all that
exactly. Some
matters.
sort of homecoming thing.
Oh,
Private
homecoming.
series always had their fucking legacy party. Um,
Yeah,
wow,
there's something so
man.
authentic to going to classes. Young adult authors everywhere agree.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing about this book series too is it really leans into like petty drama. Like it
Hmm.
feels so soapy, and that's what I think I'm having the most fun with because I feel like it's soapy in a way that it could happen, you know? It's unbelievable, but it could. It's very like plausible soapy.
Oh, I mean, especially this book. You guys, this book is so dramatic. But I do think there are those like very condensed periods of time in your life where so much drama is happening to you,
Yeah.
and it does feel like this.
Yeah.
Um Not to, I guess, the degree that Belly gets stuck in, but
Yeah.
whatever.
And I'm gonna start it on this question because I thought about this as I was brushing up on my notes today going into this episode. Maggie, do you think Belly was always unlikable, or does she get more unlikable throughout the series? Or do you not think she's as unlikable as I think she is?
Uh-huh. Well, I know last week we talked about the second book, and I mean, I think she said some choice things to Conrad after his mom
Yeah.
died.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I feel like Belly and her grief and her rage is like so palpable to teenhood, but not in a way that's relatable. Like, I know we both have watched Netflix's Never Have I Ever.
Yes.
And like the main character in that, I'm like, oh, I did a lot of fuck shit too that I can relate to with this. And
Hmm.
Belly, like, sometimes it feels like it's purely selfish motivation and like driven.
Yeah.
And I mean this whole series, you guys have been with us for a while, is like her caught in a love triangle between two brothers. And I think I would have so much anxiety as a people pleaser and, as a teen girl to let one of them down that I don't think I could like string it along. And sometimes I don't get that in her narrative and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, no, I think the comparison to Never Have I Ever is such a good one because it's like Never Have I Ever is at its core a story about an unlikable protagonist that you really empathize with because she really deals with the consequences of her actions and like
Mhm.
grows each episode each season, and that's what's really great about this.
Yeah.
In this series, however, I'm grappling with Belly is equal parts insecure and entitled, and it
Yeah.
makes for an interesting character because she also doesn't really like have to deal with many consequences of her actions. Like even this book, I was like, I and we'll get to this when we get there, but I was really expecting like some showdown where maybe like the brothers like kind of put themselves ahead of Belly, and they never do that. It's weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of sympathy and empathy for her that I don't think she extends to other
Yeah.
people, um, which is interesting. And I think that if you have a little bit of awareness, like being like, "Oh my god, I hate myself," and I mean, I guess sometimes she can, but it seems very far and few in between. Even like
Yeah.
reflecting, I'm like, it doesn't come through to me that she's like has so much self-loathing. I think that would make her a bit more empathetic, where I'd be like, "Oh, okay. She's just kind of like completely secluding and like isolating in herself by doing these things that are really bad."
Yeah, yeah. And I think with that, we gotta get into this book. We'll always have
Mhm.
summer. Um, this book takes place 2 years later after the end of the last book, where she really just like kind of drove off into the sunset with Jeremiah. That is like the best way to put it. She is now a freshman at Finch University, which Maggie and I looked up is a fake college in this book, a real college at some point, but not the same one in this book.
Yep, there's one in West London, and then there was an all-girls one in New York until about 1990.
Yep,
So,
and so none of them are that this one. This one's in the East Coast somewhere.
this one couldn't have because Jeremiah goes here too. So he can't go to an all-girls college. That's right, they went to college together.
Yeah,
They
she
planned it
followed
out.
them. Yep.
She followed him. She met some friends though. She met this one girl, Anika, who she is new friends with. And Taylor is also at Finch University. Taylor's kind of jealous of this new friendship she has with Anika, but like whatever. She'll
Yeah,
get
I
over
mean,
it.
also valid. I feel like it's very, very sad when you're like, "Oh my god, you used to be my best friend and now you have a better friend than me." That's a bummer.
No, because
Um,
I do think that's like that jump of like you meet a new college friend and you're like, this friend doesn't know anything about me from my past, so we
yeah,
can just like start off where no expectations are held against you, and then you're
yeah.
like, well, but what about me? You
Yeah,
know?
that's so fair. And Jeremiah and her have been rocking it for the past 2 years. He's waiting for her in her bed in her dorm after her one of her exams, and we find out that they're going on strong. They've got summer plans. He's going to be interning at his dad's business,
Hmm.
and Belly is going to be waitressing this summer as she has done last summer, and they're going to go to cousins whenever they can. It sounds like they've got a pretty good idea of where this summer is going to lead them.
Yeah, they started dating right before her senior year of high school. So right now it's been like 2 years. And we get a preface early on in the book that Belly's like, this is kind of weird how this always unfolded. She alludes to the fact that she knew she'd be Belly Fisher one day, but not this way because she's always loved both Conrad in a more intense way and Jeremiah in a more comfort way, which I was like,
Eh,
I think you're taking the safe option, is what I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah, and also it's very unhealthy to be like, this is how I love this person. It really should just be like a I love this person, not like I love this person comparatively to this other person. Like that's not a good vibe. That's a bad vibe.
No, no, I mean, like, love definitely changes, but it's like you also have a choice in how you love someone. It
Yeah,
can
well,
be intense.
and it also, but I feel like also like love is also not just like a one note, and I feel like that's what she
Mhm.
thinks it is. It's very one note to her.
It really
Um,
does, and we can't really tell, like, how she's feeling this one note, because they okay, oh, Jeremiah's also in a frat, which I always
yeah,
feel
he
like this,
is.
and they're going to his end of year party, and Belly's kind of thinking about how it's like she's the one who's always going to, like, his parties and his friends, and I mean, I get that. College is a really hard time to make friends, and if you go in a relationship, you know,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
yeah. It also seems like Belly is like weirdly a people pleaser in a way that she'll like basically never say when something bothers her, lets it build up and then like will just combust. And we'll get a really good example of that later. But Jeremiah, he has no idea that Belly hates going to these frat parties and hanging out with his frat brothers all the time. He meets her in the quad because he knows she's gonna be wearing heels that are gonna hurt her feet, and he piggybacks her all the way to his frat house. Like, that's a golden boy.
He also says that she looks like The Sound of Music, but hot, which made me laugh so hard.
I would love to get that compliment, honestly.
I think it'd be so funny. So they get to his frat. It's a mixer with the Zeta Phi, his like sister's sorority house. And when Belly gets there, she drops off her bag. She sees him talking to the social chair of Zeta Phi, Lacey, who she's like, should I be worried about him? Because Taylor has been like, she has a thing for Jeremiah. You should watch out for him. But this is we women gotta support ladies. Ladies gotta support
Yeah.
ladies. So Belly's like, it's okay.
Yeah, and,
Not gonna worry.
Lacey has what Belly does not, and that's, confidence in herself.
Yes.
Um, true, unfortunately. In the bathroom, Belly overhears that Lacey had hooked up with Jeremiah over spring break. So we're immediately like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We thought things were good here.
She confronts Jeremiah about it, and he was like, listen, pulls the classic Friends maneuver of Ross and Rachel being like, we were on a break. And he said he didn't want to, but she was following him around, which gave me the sense of like, and was it consensual? But they did have sex. They had sex, and that's pretty important because we learned Belly and him have not yet had sex.
Honestly, her loss. Jeremiah sounds like a great time.
I
Uh,
know. He's been
um,
to prom 5 times. You know he knows how to
yeah,
slang that thing.
exactly that thing. Jeremiah slang that thing, Fisher. Um, but this turns into like drama fight. They're both crying.
Oh, yeah.
She slaps him. He's like, "No, Belly, please, let's talk this out." And we do get a flashback here, which is very important. And we get kind of like how their relationship has been leading up to the spring break. And Belly does have a lot of resentment towards Jeremiah because she kind of goes with the flow of everything and will not say anything that bothers her. So then it all builds up when he decides he wants to go on spring break with his friends.
We also have this really interesting perspective where Belly notices finally Jeremiah outside of Summer. It's like a weird, like, boy
Yeah.
manic pixie dream girl where it's like you only hung out with him in confined times, and now you're realizing he has flaws. Maybe he doesn't
Yeah.
pick up after himself as much. Maybe he really likes Indian food, which I don't know why that's a flaw. Like,
Yeah, a lot
give
of
him
the
a
things
solid
she was
rules.
saying were not flaws. She was like, he just really likes to have a social life and like have Indian food and watch movies and play video games. And I was like, I like all of those things. That's weird.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry you mostly hang with his friends because you can't uncenter men from your life, and, like, I don't it's not his fault you didn't make friends in college,
Yeah.
you know?
It's weird. Um, but she ends up getting like really jealous that he's going on this spring break trip and he kind of invites her, but is also like, I'd rather just like hang out with my boys. And she can't stand this. And all of these things that have been building up, she dumps him.
Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
"It's always about you, Jeremiah, you're so selfish, I think your fraternity is stupid." She also says he has an inferiority complex, which I don't know, you just call your boyfriend stupid and you say that he acts out because he thinks less of himself. I would be like, "Okay, you clearly don't see me as an equal."
Yeah.
And then she breaks up with him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then now back in IRL life, she's saying like this is all tainted now, and it's like okay, one, calm down, and also let's dissect this. The big question is, does Belly have the right to be as upset for breaking up with her boyfriend? He, and probably his emotional state of getting dumped, goes and hooks up with somebody else. And then she wants to get back together with him, so he does. And now she finds out months later that this happened. Who does she have the right to put the blame all on him?
It's really interesting because I talked to my partner about this too, which I feel like is a hypothetical partners will talk about a lot, which I don't even know if it's a chicken and egg situation, but it's like, like where if you and Nick were to break up and in that week-long period you had sex with someone, if you didn't tell them, would they find out later and they'd be upset about it? Or if you told them, would it not end up being a big deal? Because, like, I would think it wouldn't be a big deal, but I think if they found out, then it might be a big ish deal.
Yeah. See, I feel like I'm in a place where it's like if we were truly broken up for even like 3 days and
Yeah.
I found this out months later, I'd be like, I technically can't, like, I can be like kind of like oh, that sucks, but I can't be like, how could you? Like, we were broken up. Like, there was no like, how couldn't you read between the lines that we were going to get like back together? Cause like that also doesn't exist. Like, we don't know that at the time.
Because, like, I think I would just take the chance of not telling and then it would come back to bite me. But, like I think I'm emotionally stable enough that I'd be like, I don't really care. Like, if you tell me, like,
Yeah.
I'll process it and it'll hurt. But I think that despite being like very stable, I think it would hurt me a lot later on if I learned and then they didn't tell me because I'd be like, why don't you trust me enough to tell me?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing because it's also like you could even dive deeper of like who did this person have sex with? Who did your partner
Yeah.
have sex with? Was it like their best friend or was it someone they just
Oh,
like met one night? Because like if it was like a long term like friend, and I would be like, oh my god,
that
and we
would
have to see this
suck.
person now.
Yeah.
But in this situation, it feels like it's very clear that Lacey likes Jeremiah more. They're
Yeah.
also 18, 19. So I do think she's blowing out of proportion a little bit. I understand the shock of it all.
Yeah.
But I really think she needs to just like take a step back and be like, I did break up with him.
Yeah.
Like she literally does say he should have known we were gonna get back together, which is manipulative.
Exactly. It really is. She doubles down though in this moment and doesn't give it a beat, doesn't let it breathe. She goes and immediately tells Anika that he cheated on her, and Anika, flame to the fire or whatever, she is like, it is worse that he kept it a secret.
Yeah.
And you know what? Belly has a little flashback of being like, you know what? I keep secrets too. I have like memories of Conrad that I still think about. And it's this memory of Christmas after freshman year. So her and Jeremiah are together. She goes to the beach house. No one's there, all alone. She wakes up. Conrad's there from like California because now he's going to school there. And there's like a moment where she trips and hits her head, and Conrad comes over and like scoops her up to help her. And this is when she's realizing while she's with his brother that she still loves him, but he will
Yeah.
just always be the first love. But like,
What a fucking bomb. Like that was only like in this timeline, that was maybe 5 or 6 months ago.
yeah.
Like, isn't that crazy? And then she broke up with Jeremiah like 3 months after that. And then, like, oh my God, messy, messy, messy.
Also, if you guys are alone at the beach house and you think maybe I shouldn't tell anyone, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, she doesn't tell Jeremiah about this at all. And so, like, it literally it made me really mad that she was like, how dare he keep a secret from me? Meanwhile, I was hanging out with the person I've been in love with for 12 years. That's also his brother. And that's totally normal though. Like, Belly,
Yes, because if you don't intend to tell your partner about that, like it's not cheating, but it's like you obviously have intention to maybe be like, well, if something happens, I'm off the hook
yeah,
because I didn't tell them who I was here with.
insane. Absolutely
Wild.
insane. Belly, you need to be a little bit better sometimes. Um Taylor also comes to comfort her, and we do get a little how they made up after the last book because as you know, book 2 they kind of left off on bad terms. They really headbutted each other with some disses that were pretty
Yeah.
harsh.
Hmm.
And we learned that Belly did initiate them becoming friends again. They were very much like not talking. They ran into each other when they were back to school shopping, and Belly was like, "Hey, would you come over and help me like style this skirt I just bought?" And that's how they became friends again. Um,
Yeah, they
so
have
yeah,
kind of like together but separate lives now. There's
yeah,
boundaries because
yeah,
Taylor's in, you guessed it, a sorority.
shocking.
I know, at least she's like trying to make friends. Meanwhile, so Taylor, she's like, I'll kill him if you want me to. And
Yeah,
Billy's like, no, no,
great
no, you
plan.
don't have to do that. She calls Jeremiah the next day after this, Taylor's been over, and she tells him to come over, and they talk about everything. She's like, how do I know you won't do it again? And he proposes a bonkers scheme, a bonkers idea, which is you could marry me.
Yeah, okay. And listeners, for point of reference here, this happened on page 56. So like we're not even like partially through the book. This is all happening in the first quarter of the book. And like normally you could be like, how do you know I won't do this again? Maybe he could say, "Hey, we're not going to break up again." Like that would this happen because we broke up. So that would be a reason, but she says yes. She
Oh my
says yes, she'll
god.
marry him.
And to make matters worse, so they're engaged. Woohoo! Great job. She has a nightmare that night of his brother being lost in the woods, which I don't
Yeah.
know. How would we psychoanalyze that? Being like, is it abandoning? You're like abandoning the brother?
Yeah,
I
but
don't
also
know.
it should be noted in this dream that Conrad is like 8, 9. So it's like she's having a dream about baby Conrad, which is fucking weird. So if we're psychoanalyzing that, I'm gonna focus on the fact that he is literally a child in this dream.
I don't know. So she wakes up, she's like, "Well, now I'm tasked with telling everyone." And she tells Taylor the next day, and Taylor, like anyone, is like, "What? You're 19. Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
wait until after college? You can't even drink yet. You haven't even tried First of all, you haven't even tried dick. You haven't even tried beer. You got to figure out if you like either,
To
you
be
know?"
fair, Taylor does get on board pretty fast because Taylor's like, "Hey, you know, I spoke my piece. You do you. Let's plan your wedding. I know how to do all this stuff." And actually, Taylor knows a lot of details that Belly wants in her wedding from like stuff she told her like 10 years ago, which I think is really sweet. Like
Yeah.
she knows that she wants like a carrot cake at her wedding and like this type of dress and like all of these types of colors and things like that. So I thought that was really sweet.
That
Also in
was
this
really sweet.
moment, we learned that Mom and Conrad are still close. And Anika's also weirdly supportive of them getting married. She's kind of just like, yeah, whatever, you guys do you.
Yeah, she kind of goes with the flow. She's like, okay, but Anika does learn that, like, obviously, if they get married, Jeremiah and her are going to move in. Thus, she cannot live with Anika. So that's the only
That's
kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and we do get like a flashback here about her like moving in, meeting Jillian, who was her roommate, meeting Anika, who was going to be her roommate. And
Hmm.
kind of how like the first, few days, weeks, months were kind of a hard adjustment for Belly and just like she thought she was going to make all of these friends and it ended up being like a lot more difficult and harder than she thought it was going to be, which I thought that was relatable. I had a really really hard first year of college. Like I just like was so nervous and anxious that like nothing clicked for me for a really long time.
I know. Like, this scene of her parents helping her move into her dorm and then, like, just kind of going to the sponsored events in your hall and then being like, who the fuck do I make friends with? And then someone
Right?
who's like drinking with the door open invites you in, and it's like, you can't, I don't know. Like, I wasn't friends with people on my floor, but it felt like we had to be friends by proximity. And then you were just like, are we even relatable? Do we like each other? I don't know. But this is how she finds Anika, who is on her floor and she becomes friends with. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, making friends in college was really hard. Sorry to
Yeah,
any high
like
schoolers having to
making
go through
friends
it.
at any point in your life is objectively difficult. Like that's a stressful concept to me.
It
Um,
is.
but next day, Belly is packing up, says goodbye to the people that are still there. Her dad and Jeremiah help her pack up, and Dad's gonna take them out to lunch. And Belly's like, maybe it'll soften the blow if I like tell him real quick. By the way, I'm about to get married. And instead, oh, by the way, they've Belly's decided that they're getting married in August, which is like 2 months away. That's a very important detail.
Crazy.
But Belly does not decide to tell Dad. She's like, no, I don't want to have to deal with like him knowing before anybody else. So we're just going to do it all at once.
She's unpacking at home. She started working her serving job, saving money for the wedding, and Jeremiah calls one night and just says that he thinks she should stop working there, which that really pissed me off. But he's like, "We can use the money my mom left me. I don't want you working so hard." She wants to pull her own load though, but like it's going to be so expensive and they're not going to be able to get enough done in 2 months, and he's like, "How about instead you contribute by just like you can plan the wedding because I have to work this internship for 9 to 5." He has to
Yeah.
build a future. Look at them settling into their husband and wife roles. He's like, I'll
Yeah.
work. You do the other stuff.
Well, I mean, I think it would be. I think it's a little different, just because it's like she doesn't really like her job. I feel like she's working to have money, and if he's like, "I got you," I'd
Yeah,
probably say no too. Honestly,
that is fair. I feel like I would want some autonomy, and that would come in working a job that I hate. But I also can't let anyone take care of me for some reason. So
yeah,
maybe
yeah. No,
that's just
Nick and
me.
I always talk about where like if one of us gets just like abhorrently rich, the other one would quit the job, or we both would quit our jobs. We just both be jobless and just living on all of this money we had,
You got to
because
travel.
it goes both ways, baby.
Yeah,
Um, and after this conversation, Belly is realizing she has to see Conrad soon, and she's feeling a little nervous. And it's like, Belly, why do you care so much what your ex thinks?
they're going to this like garden dedication for Susanna's memory because she gave a lot of money to this women's shelter. And like they don't see Conrad here. They're like, oh, classic Conrad skipping something, which I was like, I don't think he's gonna skip the garden dedication event.
Yeah.
He's probably just late, and he is. And then it flips to Conrad's point of view as he's rolling up late to this garden event. Jeremiah gives a really nice speech, and Conrad's admiring Belly. He's like, wow, look at how good she looks in this little dress she's wearing. And then he sees her and Jeremiah holding hands, and he's all tense about it.
Yeah, he's still jealous. And I guess something interesting this book does versus the last book that did Jeremiah's point of view a lot. This book focuses on Conrad's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of bummed we didn't get any of Jeremiah's point of view during all of this because I'm like, he's the one I want to check in on because all of this is insane.
Yeah, you guys are getting married. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Immediately after this, Conrad greets everybody, calls Belly his little sister, which again, I've said this before, their Conrad and Belly's relationship has always been a little incestuous to me. And this continues to prove that.
Yeah.
And then they go to a family lunch, and immediately Jeremiah's like, hey, I'm gonna just start this one off very hot and say that we are getting married. And this doesn't go well.
Oh no, it goes downhill so fast. Her mom is like, "You're pregnant," and Belly's like, "No, no, that's not what it is." And the parents are like, "Well, then what the fuck is this?" And instead of people cheering, they both families separate very fast. They speed out of the restaurant. They're like, "Check, no more food, no more food. We're done."
Yeah.
And Laurel tells Belly that she has to give the ring back to Jeremiah.
So Belly and her mom do not talk for 1 week after this. And Belly will like hear her mom crying at night. And Laurel's about to just throw more wrenches into this plan and vows to not attend the wedding.
I know. Ugh, what an
And
insane bummer.
I know, and Meg, we've went back and forth on this. I think Belly's mom is like a little too harsh in this
Mhm.
book. Like, I get she was harsh before, but it's like this has been like, and like last book was a lot because she was grieving, and like, but this has been 2 years since, and I feel like she's never been like this strict and controlling over Belly. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like she was a really rigid woman, and I think
Yeah,
they made a point of the 3 books of making her out to be like a feminist. She never approved of Susanna's marriage to Mr. Fisher and like her
yeah,
taking the last name. So I was like, the fact that she is adamantly against her 19-year-old daughter getting married is something that would probably be like low key anti feminist. I mean, it's not hurting other women, but it is kind of like weird to not live so much of your life and put like yourself in such a box that I don't think would allow you to
yeah,
thrive. That I was like, this would make sense for Laurel to do as like a very regiment feminist businessy woman because I would do the same thing. I would be like, if my 19-year-old daughter was getting married, I'm like, that's great for you. I know this isn't going to happen. Not to like infantilize you. You're not smart enough yet. You haven't
yeah,
developed. And I'm not going to
yeah.
support it.
Yeah, no, and I get like the upset thing there, but I also know just like in the world of dealing with your children trying to like be independent when they are still very much children, um acting yourself like I'm above you, I'm better than you, I know better than you is never going to get you the outcome you want.
Oh, no. I mean, it's definitely going to cause a lot of resentment between you and your kid, and that's why I don't have kids, but, if I did have a kid, I'd be like, "What you're doing is fucking stupid." Like, "I'm sorry, dude, but
Yeah.
it is."
Yeah. Um, Mom is also going to recruit Steven to kind of try to tell her that she's too young. And Steven like gets halfway through this battle before Belly's like, dude, did mom send you in here? And he's like, absolutely. And she's like, well, Jeremiah wants you to be a best man. And he's like, that sounds awesome. I'm in.
Yeah, he's
So
like
he turns around pretty quickly.
a turncoat. He's like, "Wait, there's a bachelor party?" And she's like, "Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So Taylor's really swooping in as both maid of honor and mom
moral
because
support."
honestly, a good friend. Like, it's honestly, it's one of those things that sometimes you just have to let people make stupid decisions, and it's like they'll learn their lesson or it'll be fine.
Mhm.
And Taylor and her go dress shopping, and they find a really cheap dress that like looks good, which is exciting.
They do. They go shopping amidst all of the other girls shopping for their prom dresses, and these ladies are shocked that this woman who is so young is getting married. But she finds her dress. She calls Jeremiah. She's like, I was really sad that my mom wasn't there. And he does something very sweet, which is show up to her house the next day with flowers because he's going to win over Laurel. He's going to do it.
Yeah, honestly, a good guy. Like Jeremiah, it's not lost on him that this is an insane idea. And here's the thing that I also like will argue for Belly and Jeremiah. They're aware that this is an insane idea. You know, they're kind of like, hey, we know we're young and this is kind of stupid,
Yeah.
but we want to do it. It doesn't work though. Jeremiah's plan is it does not work well. Belly gets so upset that she packs up to leave the house. She's gonna go stay at Cousin's Beach for the summer.
Yep, her mom is not going to get her way, which was just wanting Belly the simple task of finishing school first, but Belly cannot give that to her. So she packs all
No.
her shit, she quits her job, and she's living in that beach house in Cousins, which you could have a worse summer to just like
Yeah,
live in a
and
beach house alone. Sure.
but summer's getting worse because she's not living alone. She's living with her ex-boyfriend Conrad, who's also staying there for his summer break from California.
Yeah, sucks for Jeremiah because he can't quit his internship. So I guess it's just going to be him and her and Conrad alone.
Yeah, and Jeremiah's gonna spend the first night there. Should be really cute and romantic, right? No, Belly wants to sleep alone in her own room because that's what feels normal here.
I know. It's just an awful situation. It's like her avoiding Conrad, Conrad avoiding them, and then also the her sleeping in her own bed. And honestly, if I was Jeremiah, I'd be like, yeah, no, that's fine. We're gonna sleep together for the rest of our life.
Right?
Go
But
ahead.
if it was also she just found out her ex was gonna be here, I'd be like, "That's a little weird that you suddenly don't wanna sleep in a room with me."
Yeah.
Um, we're gonna check in with Conrad's point of view here, because his main plan is he's gonna ask Jeremiah to go surfing so he can get, like, details on this wedding, and he is also entirely pissed about this because he says that Belly is his.
He says, and I quote about Jeremiah, quote, smug piece of shit, he's marrying my girl. When Jeremiah tells Conrad to stay out of it because Conrad's like, hey, maybe if both our parents don't approve, you shouldn't get married.
Yikes.
Smug piece of shit.
Big yikes.
Wow.
It's one of those things that it's like I love that like Conrad's entire vibe this book is like I'm older than him. I know better and he's being just as bad if not worse than Jeremiah.
I know.
Ugh.
Meanwhile, Belly doesn't know what's going on at all about Conrad's inner thoughts. She's making her little guest list. She's got a budget of $1,000. Apparently, they could do a clam bake on the beach. She's got it
That
locked
sounds awesome.
and loaded. Clam bake sounds like a great time.
That sounds delicious. That's a great idea for especially on a low budget. And Belly's going to take a page out of her mom's book and she's going to avoid Conrad for an entire week. So they're just awkwardly living in this house
Yeah,
together.
all they do is like
Um
split groceries and food, and that's their only
yeah.
communication.
Yeah, and then finally like they start like casually talking as roommates and Belly has to go get these love stamps from the post office and he has to go get a drill. So now they're going to go run some errands together. Um
He
and
says last
she
time you were in my car was prom when she got dumped, which is awkward. Yikes.
that is so like why would you bring that up?
While they're looking for stamps, Conrad gets a drill. They banter
Yeah.
about his old stamp collection. She asks if he has a girlfriend, and he says no, but he's lying because we learn from his point of view, he's talking about this girl Agnes, who we're supposed to just kind of assume is his girlfriend.
Yeah, and he doesn't like her. He literally strings her along and then she asks like if he loves her and he's like, "No." And she's like, "I figured." And
Yeah,
it's like that's a
he's
bummer.
like, okay, I mean, that's okay. It's impossible to get close to you. I think you still love that other girl, though. And the other girl is Belly because she also asked him on a scale of 1 to 10, have you ever been in love? And he said, yes, a 10. It was Belly. And I would be like, well, what the fuck am I doing investing any
God.
time in this guy?
God, I'm also realizing Conrad reminds me so much of those guys that I would like date in my early 20s, and they're just like, nah, I can't date right now. I have to focus on this thing. And then you find out that they're still in love with like this girl from like college or high school, and you're like, dude, that was like 6 years ago. Move on with your
I
life.
also feel like to be the girl who's like in constant stasis where it's like guys just think of you as like Andy and his toys from like Toy Story where
Yeah.
it's just like they're like, "Well, you've been waiting this whole time too for me to text you after 4 years and be like, I can't stop thinking about you." And it's like, "No."
No, I haven't. Yeah,
I've
yeah.
been living you didn't write your name on my boot. I've been
Yeah.
living my life.
It's like, what do you mean? That is, I feel like that never ceases to amaze me. Like back when I was like single, like I'd get like a text from someone like years later, and they'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'd be like, "What do you want? Like, I don't care to hear from you."
I know. Oh my god, it's so crazy. But I mean, that's really what
Yeah,
Conrad's banking on. He's like, he's just
like
kind of hoping he
yeah,
can pick this toy up and play with her again.
yeah. He's like, I didn't write my name on her boot.
I
He's chasing
wrote
her around the house with a sharpie.
it. So we cut to the present day where he's like, she can't know that I like her because communication. This was a time when therapy, I guess, was still stigmatized. I don't know. But
True.
he's like, it'll just be too hard to walk away a second time. Like Andy when he went to college. I'm back on the Toy Story thing.
Dang. Honestly, more Toy Story analogies for the rest of this episode. He also it is like still like mad at himself because he knows that he basically let Jeremiah and Belly get together. He's like, I know I pushed them together that night at the motel.
And this is
But
where I got
he's
really confused because it seems like,
yeah,
I mean, yes, he's blaming himself for Jeremiah and Belly being together, but I guess like when his mom told him to take care of Jeremiah, taking care of Jeremiah meant letting like just Belly have Belly, which I was
I
like, what?
think, and here's the thing, I don't think that's what she meant by take care of Jeremiah is like don't have feelings for anybody because
Yeah,
he's not really taking care of Jeremiah at all. He moved a fucking across the country. How is he taking care of Jeremiah?
I know. I'd be sad. I'd be like, well, damn, I'm still your brother. I want a close relationship. And Conrad's like, no, I need to be in
Yeah.
a different state entirely.
Yeah, Conrad, he sucks.
I know.
Um, but you want to know what he's gonna do? He's gonna start running more wedding errands with Belly. They're gonna go to Michael's and get some vases together, which is weird.
Yeah, they get all this stuff. They get like these big vases. They have a great time. And when they get home, Jeremiah's there and he seems really tense that they're together. But then just him and Belly go to get dinner because Belly invites Conrad. But Conrad, listen, she doesn't get to hang out with the three of them. They can't all hang out three, which I don't know how that's going to work in your married life, but good luck.
Yeah. Uh, I feel like I feel like they're very much of the mindset of like one of those like this will all just work out the way it's supposed to, and it's like some things don't just work out well, you know?
Yeah. And it seems like between Jeremiah and Belly, it's another tense situation because we get a little bit of their dynamic, which is him asking if they could dance to a song from that one Quentin Tarantino Pulp Fiction. At their
Yeah.
wedding, he's like, I think it would go viral online. I mean, you got to give it to them. Online's a big thing. They probably are just learning about the Harlem Shake in this
Yeah.
book.
Well, like, and I think, like, and here's the thing. I think Jeremiah, and this is how I read this, and you can please disagree with me. I felt like he was just like kind of like being like, yeah, like giving fun suggestions in a way to also relieve some tension of like, this could be funny and this could be something fun that we do, but like we don't have to. And Belly's getting really, really mad at him for this. And it's like, Belly, calm down. He's being very flexible. Like, what's going on?
I was a little annoyed that he was like, "We should have a Tarantino themed wedding," because if I was planning everything, I would be like so annoyed, but
Oh,
I would give some leeway.
I read that as a complete joke, like of him being like, "Oh, what if we did
I
this?"
guess he does joke a lot. That's true. I wouldn't mind like I'm like maybe not our first dance, but we could have a dance later on when we're like more drunk. That could be our
Yeah.
viral online one.
Yeah. But when they get back from this dinner, Conrad's car is gone. And we get Conrad's point of view. he's going to Boston
Yep.
because he cannot stand that Jeremiah and Belly had to go to dinner together. And he goes up to his dad's house, and his dad's like, "Man, I don't really know what I should do about this wedding. Laurel's pretty much like putting her feet down, but I don't feel like that's a good thing to do." And Conrad, really fulfilling Susanna's prophecy to take care of his brother, tells his dad to cut Jeremiah off so he can learn a lesson.
His dad is having such a moment of vulnerability. He's like, "I don't wanna lose him, like, I lost you." Conrad's really upset
Yeah.
because he's, like, reflecting on how he's his dad's favorite, and Conrad hates that because his dad is unreliable, and Conrad's response, of being like, "You know what? If you don't wanna lose him, maybe cut him off. Maybe why not do
Yeah.
that?"
And it's so funny because his dad's like, "I don't think I'm going to do that." And Conrad's like, "Why? He'll never learn if you don't cut him off financially." And it's like, it's very much just like, buddy, take a step back.
Yeah, he bounces from going to Cousins to Boston, giving horrible advice, and then driving back to Cousins that Monday. He's
Yeah.
he's got a mission.
And right? He's like, he doesn't have an internship like Jeremiah this summer. He's got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
Later, when he's back in Cousins, Belly tells Conrad that, Jeremiah really wants him to be a best man. Conrad is like, no, Steven should just be the best man, not me. And it's like, of course, Conrad's back to his old ways of being like, no, Belly, I can't fit into your life at all.
Oh my god, I know. She also gets a little upset because Jeremiah did not tell the dress code for best men, and she's like, "What? Why is he not like communicating to the best boys?" But
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing his part. The Fisher's dad lawyer, Mr. Fisher's lawyer calls her, and Jeremiah has like reached out to Mr. Fisher's lawyer, and she found them a catering company and is like trying to iron out some details, which I was like, that was really nice
Yeah.
of Jeremiah to do.
Yeah. Mr. Fisher's helping them plan the wedding now and gonna pay for some of it. So that's super nice. But Belly weirdly gets very overwhelmed by this phone conversation. She's
Yeah.
like, I didn't think about tables. And it's like, Belly, calm down. This person is planning the wedding. What are you overwhelmed by?
Yeah. She like starts crying and Conrad overhears this and Belly's super overwhelmed. She's like, I got to go to the florist and pick out flowers, and Conrad reluctantly agrees to go despite the fact that he's just like trying to stay out of the situation entirely.
Yeah. Before this, we do get a quick Conrad point of view where he went to see Laurel to kind of be like, Laurel, she's your only daughter. You have to go. And she's still hesitant about it.
Mhm.
Um, But then after that, Conrad begrudgingly goes flower shopping. And then they stop at this peach stand on the way back. And then they go buy peaches. And she's just like eating these peaches, being like, wow, these are the best peaches I've ever had. And he like wipes her face with like his like
Thumb?
shirt sleeve
Yeah.
thumb. And she gets horny, y'all.
She's
She gets
shaking.
really turned on. She's trembling with desire. Like it was like nothing about this scene read like sensual to me. I was like, what the fuck is going
No,
on?
it didn't. But from Belly's point of view, it was like the B scene in Bridgerton season 2.
Oh my
She
god.
gets home, she's
Belly
I
wishes.
know, seriously. She's trembling, Jeremiah's there, and a lot of the plot is she getting home and Jeremiah, everything's tense. And she feels guilty, but she's like, but I have no reason to be guilty since nothing happened.
Yeah. She's like, me very much attracted to my fiance's brother. There's nothing wrong with that as long as I don't tell anyone.
She's got no time for this because her and Jeremiah have to go look at some apartments to live in for next year. Jeremiah wants this one that kind of seems like a bit dilapidated. I mean, college apartments. It's like a party
Yeah,
one. But Belly's like, I want the first one because central AC, which honestly, that
fair.
flex. But I know me at 19, I would have wanted the party one. Like, you have so much
Oh,
time for a nice apartment.
yeah. Oh my god, no, me at 19, I was like, give me the cheapest space, the cheapest apartment for the most space. I do not care
Yeah.
what amenities there are as long as it has like a bathroom. That's all I really need.
Oh, yeah. We just don't want outhouses. No outhouses.
Exactly. No outhouses. None for me, thanks.
Yeah.
Um then after this is her bridal shower and her mom shows up. So her mom's begrudgingly coming around, which is good.
Yeah, she does presents. She calls Jeremiah after this. She's like, the wedding is back on because my mom is here. And I guess they got Laurel's blessing in
Yeah.
an unspoken way.
Yeah, and after this, we also get another Conrad point of view, and he goes to visit this guy Ernie, who we find out has been a character the entire time. Like basically in the background, he's like the owner or like the dishwasher at this like restaurant that he used to work at, the seafood place.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ernie like knows the deal with him and Belly. All they really do is like watch TV together, and they don't talk except for commercial breaks.
Yeah.
Um, and Ernie's like, buddy, you gonna stop the wedding? And Conrad's like, no, I can't do that. She's marrying my brother. And Ernie says, and I quote, all bets are off, family or not. So Ernie's like, dude, go for it. Destroy your relationship with your brother and this girl that you love, possibly.
Yeah, he's like, it doesn't matter if it's family. If the girl is the one, she's the one. And I'm like, I don't
That's
know. I don't
that's
know.
that's a bad advice. And like also, we're gonna listen to like Ernie, who just like lives in a vacation town. Like,
I don't know. I don't think we should.
not that there's anything wrong with living in a vacation town, but it is very much like implied that Ernie's just kind of a guy who like buys alcohol for minors. It's like we can't really be like trusting this guy.
We can't trust this guy that 13-year-olds are like, PBR, and he's like, say no more. I will go get you a Pabst Blue Ribbon. Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, and here's a bottle of tequila for good
I
measure."
threw it in as a fun tax. He probably says fun
Yeah.
tax a lot.
Oh my god, he probably says fun tax. He probably loves to give like 7-year-old cigarettes just to see how they react, you know?
So at this point, most of the wedding is planned. We have a moment that seems to redefine everything where Conrad comes back with like this open wound from surfing, and Belly is really stressed and takes care of him. She helps like slow the flow of the blood, and he's like lost so much blood that he's like going to lean on her shoulder, and she thinks for a minute that he's moving in for a kiss. And then he's like, I need to go take a nap because he's lost so much
Yeah. And
blood.
then I guess in that moment we learned that Belly was Team Edward all along because she was really getting some vibes after all of this blood around her.
Yep.
Um
Yes, she was.
And after this, people are in town for their respective bachelorette nights. And Belly, as like they're all getting ready, he brings up this story to Jeremiah that's like, oh my god, remember when like this thing happened and we did this together? And Jeremiah was like, that was you and Conrad, that wasn't me. And I'm like, that is so embarrassing.
That is so embarrassing. I would have been like, "Oh, okay." But no, she digs her heels and she's like, "No, I think it's you." And Jeremiah's like, "Nope, definitely not me." And
Yeah.
she just has to let it go.
Yeah, that's one of like the hardest, like, that must have been somebody else because he knows exactly who the somebody else is.
I know, it's, like, worse if it's I mean, you're, like, dating someone and they bring up a memory with their ex and you're like, "Nope, I don't think that's me." I would assume it's your ex, but if your ex is your brother and you were also there,
You're
you're
like,
like, "Well, I was kind of, like, teetering around the memory, but you weren't really paying attention to me, so I don't exist in that one," which would
yeah,
suck.
great, wasn't there. That was definitely my brother who you're still in love with. Um, at this bachelorette party, Taylor and Anika take the time to talk to her about sex, which honestly, good friends because Belly still hasn't had it, and they know she's gonna have sex if
Crazy.
she's getting married.
Yeah, it's sounding like Taylor's like, "It's gonna hurt a lot," and Belly is still stressed out about it, but she's gotta figure it out because that wedding night is coming up. Anika also makes a comment that, Conrad is hot, and Taylor says, "That was Belly's man," and Belly has to be like, "Oh, not anymore, actually, not anymore," and then later at dinner, she gets jealous of seeing Anika and Jeremiah talk to each other. So make up your mind. You
Yeah.
gotta make up your
Belly
mind.
also kind of does tell Taylor about like the whole like injury thing that happened and kind of like the vibe that she felt like that she wanted to kiss Conrad. Bad. And then we get the weirdest flashback in the history of this series to like kind of like remind us that like wow, Conrad's cared about Belly this whole time. And it's a story of when she was 8 years old and she like spent too long looking at glass unicorns in the glass blowing store at the mall, and Conrad ended up buying her the glass unicorn after like yelling at her
Until she
because he thought
cried.
she was missing,
Yeah.
and she started crying, and it's supposed to be I think like this sweet story of like, oh my god, he remembered that I wanted the glass unicorn, and it's like, no, Belly, he was like mad at you for getting lost in the mall. It was weird. It was a weird story that I was like,
I
Why are we bringing this up?
I know, it wasn't that cute, but later that
No.
night, after they've had dinner, the girls have talked to her about sex, when Anika made a really great comment about how she shouldn't worry because Jeremiah's been with other girls, so he'll know how to take care of you.
Yeah, that's gonna make Belly feel awesome.
That was cunty. So Conrad is the designated driver of the night, and at the bar, Conrad overhears one of Jeremiah's friends being like, "So you're finally gonna get to sleep with Belly? That's exciting. I mean, you haven't had any since Cabo with Lacey." And Conrad is pissed.
Yeah, yeah. Conrad's like, how dare he cheat on Belly? But he's also like, I'm gonna use this to my advantage because Belly finds Conrad on the beach immediately after
Yep.
this. And she's like, hey, you should have like a drink to still celebrate. And he's like, Belly, you should know Jeremiah cheated on you with Lacey at spring break. Sorry you had to find out this way, and sorry the wedding's off, basically. And Belly's like, oh no, we kind of worked past it. Like I forgave him. We were like broken up. And then Conrad's mad at Belly for forgiving Jeremiah. And it's like, Conrad, aren't you at the base level wanting Belly to forgive you for being a piece of shit the entire time you were dating?
He says, "I never gauged you as the girl who'd put up with that." And she's like, "I mean, I put up with worse from you."
And also, like, didn't Conrad, like, didn't we kind of find out in book two, it was hinted that he was hooking up with other girls the entire
Like
time they were
Sophie.
together?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, come on,
But no,
Conrad.
she calls him
Fuck
out
you.
and he says, "I never looked at another girl when we were together." Lies, like we just said.
Lies.
Lies, lies.
Oh my god, I hate him so much. He's such a gaslighter.
And he says, "I thought I knew you." And she's like, "Well, you know what? Maybe you don't." And she goes to leave. And this is when he pulls her in, reels her back, and says, "I still love you. I'll never stop loving you."
And not even doesn't even leave it at that. He says, "You should dump my brother and be with me instead." Her wedding is literally like
I
tomorrow. You
know.
can't do this now. Like that is such like emotionally manipulative bullshit to be like, "Oh, by the way, now that you're getting married tomorrow, not no, we've been living together this entire time. I could have told you at any other point in time, but I waited till you were hours away from getting married
Dude,
that I'm going to ruin you emotionally with
I'd be
this?"
so fucking confused because he's like, he's saying he loves you, and then he's like, "I messed up in that hotel. I knew I couldn't love you with all this anger in my heart, but Jeremiah could." And I'd be like, "Bro, so do you want me with him or not? Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm
Yeah.
exhausted."
Conrad, of course he does, tries to kind of like apologize. And Belly's like, you need to leave because like this is not a good vibe for me to be around. I am getting married.
Yeah,
And then Conrad it takes 10 steps forward to be the manipulative piece of shit that he is and says, you know that I love you. And it's like, how is she supposed to know that, Conrad? You've been in California for 2 years. What?
so she goes, she snuggles Jeremiah, she says, "I love you" to his back, not Conrad's.
Yikes.
But what a
Yikes.
dilemma, because it seems like she likes both. The next morning, she's trying to
Yeah.
avoid Conrad. She runs into him in the kitchen because they're all in this fucking house. And he's like, "Hey, can I apologize for yesterday?" And I would be like, "I do not need this energy. This is too much hot and cold."
Yeah. So Conrad does go driving after this. We get a good POV. Taylor corners him and basically tells him to stop emotionally abusing Belly because that's all he does. And
Hmm.
she's like, "Hey, buddy, now's not the time. Stop doing that." And she really goes into him of like, you've always been not good enough for her. You've always fucked with her. Stop that. Um,
Yeah,
so I was really happy that Taylor like told him how it was.
I know.
Um,
She's the best.
I know. His point of view continues at the dinner view I said dinner view. The dinner before the wedding. Don't know where that came from. And he tells Laurel that he's sad about Belly marrying his brother and he cries.
He does. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's crying about this. I'm trying to figure out where this is. Is this when he's
This
driving
is
away?
right before Belly's midnight swim. I'll take it away from here.
Okay.
Belly can't sleep the night before her wedding, so Belly's going to do one of her infamous Belly midnight swims.
Yep.
And Jeremiah saunters out, and he's like, "Hey, bride to be." Not something that actually happens. He is there though. They do talk, and Belly's like, "Jeremiah, now's a good time to tell you that what Conrad told
Yeah.
me. And it's like, no, it's not. This is a horrible time to tell him this.
No, it's not,
And
yeah.
Jeremiah says to her, are you marrying me to erase him? That's insane.
That was such a big line. He goes
That's
on,
like,
I would be so hurt because, I mean, he says, he's like, "I see the way you look at him. You never look at
yeah,
me like that." And he also admits that he knows that she saw him at Christmas over the house. She says nothing happened. And like we said, he's like, "Yeah, but Conrad had to tell me. So if nothing happened, why wouldn't you tell me?"
exactly. And after this whole, like, are you marrying me to erase him? Billy's like, no, of course not. I love you. And Jeremiah honestly respect his decision. He's like, you know what? I need to think for a moment.
Yep.
Fair, honestly. So he leaves. He gets up and bolts.
Yep, and he's not there the next morning when Belly's mom's,
Oh,
like, there to do her hair.
it's wedding day, y'all.
It's wedding day. Laurel gives Belly a note. They're all, I mean, Belly's freaking out because Jeremiah's not around. And it's a note that Susanna wanted to give Belly on her wedding day. And Steven comes in after this. Belly's a mess. And Steven's like, I don't know where Conrad is or where Jeremiah is. And Conrad is looking for him right now.
Yeah. Conrad does finally get Jeremiah back. Steven's big advice to Belly is go big or go home.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's the best advice. And then we do get Conrad's point of view of how he found Jeremiah right after that.
Yes.
And they find him in the garden for Susanna, right?
Yes, so he's in the garden for Susanna. On his way out, Laurel does hand Conrad a note from Susanna to give Jeremiah just to kind of soften the blow. It's like the same that she gave Belly about on his wedding day. And
Yeah.
when he gets there, Jeremiah is like, "I should kick your ass." And Conrad's like,
He punches
"He
him.
does," and he goes for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's like, if okay, like, Jeremiah's like, if you still had feelings for her, why give me the okay? And then Conrad is like, well, then why did you cheat on her if you love her? And it's not his place. Like, not his
No.
place. So
No,
Jeremiah
not at all.
punches him. He's like, great, you did that. I'm a piece of shit. You know how guys do. They'll be like, I'm a piece of shit. I deserve that. Let's go. But Jeremiah is still going and is like, you left her so many times. Like, you are a coward. And Conrad's like, I know. And she might be the only girl I can ever love. But read this note for mom. And he gives him the note. And Jeremiah reads it. He starts crying. He's like, you are not my brother anymore. You will never talk to her or I again after this. You are dead to me. And then he hands him the letter. And it's a letter to Conrad.
Yeah, Susanna in her final state accidentally put Conrad's note in the Jeremiah envelope and the Jeremiah note in the Conrad envelope. And for some reason, this Susanna letter talks about, like, wow, Conrad, can't believe it's you on your wedding day. The only girl I've ever seen you love is Belly. Hope this girl's cool. Like, it's weird. Like, that's literally the vibe.
It
And I'm like,
really is.
Susanna, that's a little weird to write to your son about him loving somebody else that he might not be getting married to. Come on.
Exactly. Have some foresight. I mean, that's really taking a gamble, you know?
And you wanna know what Conrad does when he gets back from this? He's gonna give Belly the infinity necklace that he was gonna give her when they were dating 2 years ago.
It's like a necklace that he bought on her 16th birthday when he, quote, forgot a gift but was too scared to give it to her. Which, like,
Lies. I don't believe it, honestly. That's a lie.
also, it's like, what meaning would this have then after we are dating? Like, when it is like, quote, cool or socially acceptable to like date me. Why not give this to me at 16 when like all of the guys are still ganging up on me? That would be so meaningful. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. God. But he's like, "Don't worry, here's this necklace that you were supposed to have years ago. By the way, I'm leaving now, never to be seen again." And then we get this fucking dumbass flashback of
Oh
them
god.
looking up at the stars on Valentine's Day that one time they dated for 6 months, as if we're supposed to think that anything Conrad did was redeeming.
He says like
No.
one nice thing, which is I think I'll never trust a girl the way I trust you, which is like that's just internalized misogyny, baby. Work on that.
Yeah.
Girls are
What,
very
didn't you
easy
trust
to
your mom,
trust.
Conrad? Fuck this.
I know.
I'm getting so heated right now.
And I guess that this
Um,
whole flashback ties back to the infinity necklace because it's like she's like, "He gave me the moon and the stars," which is like, wow. So you looked at the stars on a blanket and now you're like, "This man gave me the universe." No, he didn't. He gave you a
no, he
good
didn't.
time once.
He got you an infinity necklace, which is always a design of a necklace that you can buy literally wherever. There's nothing unique
You
there.
could win it in a gumball machine.
Yeah. Like, it's like infinity sign, anchor, and like heart. Those are like the three symbols that you can always find
Exactly.
for a necklace. Like, where's the originality?
Exactly. To equate that to being like he gave me the moon and my star in the stars. Calm down.
What Belly, how did he give you the moon? Name one thing time he showed up for
He gave
you.
you a necklace you could win in a bowling alley. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Come on. He could have won that in arcade.
So
Um,
Jeremiah comes in, knight in shining armor, and he reassures her that there will be a wedding. He's like, "Yeah, it can happen if you want it to." And she's like, "Do you want to talk about it?" And he's like, "No," which
but
they should.
they do. He literally does confront her and say like, "I'm always going to be your second
Yeah.
choice." And then she's like, Belly says something crazy here. She says, "Yes, I still love Conrad, but I'm choosing to love you." As if that's going to be a good consolation for this poor guy who's apparently been dragged along for 2 years while she's gotten over his brother. Um and it's not good. But that's not what Jeremiah wants to
He
hear.
says it's not
Um
enough and that he read, like Laura said, the mom's letter, which basically indicated Conrad only loves Belly. And he's like, you know what? You owe it to yourself to see that before letting him go. But I will say, Conrad will always let you down.
fair advice. And Belly decides to romanticize this moment, being like, "I guess we just were never meant to be together." Like, Belly, you're not meant to be with Conrad either. He's going to fuck your brain up. You are going to need years and years of therapy.
But she doesn't get into therapy. No, we get a flash forward to a couple years
Oh
later.
God.
Belly is reading the letter to her from Susanna, basically like, "I hope you got everything you wanted in life. I hope you're with a kind man, even if he's not a fisher." Um,
She's
and
not. She's not, and she is with a Fisher.
Belly's like 24 now. She got to live with Anika. I guess that was the consolation prize for not having a wedding.
Ooh,
She went to Spain to study abroad. That's kind of fun. And
that's cool.
she starts getting letters from a guy who later shows up to her college graduation. Um, and then we flash forward to her wedding day. Jeremiah's there with a date. And she's running through the rain. She's headed to this dance hall for her reception. And instead of the reception, her and Mystery Man, they go to a beach and Conrad like launches her into the water in probably $1,000 wedding dress, fucking up yet again. And I guess they did it. They're together. Woohoo!
Yep. Yep. It ends with their wedding day. We don't get any the other books. They really gave us like a little like tidbit of like, and then this happened, but nope, this is where we leave it. They run into the ocean on their wedding day, and it's supposed to be like a happily ever after. I refuse to believe
Did
that
you read
personally.
the letters that he wrote her while she was in Spain?
Was that no? Was that?
It's okay. So the book ends and then the end shows us after. There's like letters he wrote her in
Oh
Spain.
my god,
And
no!
Laura, it is so funny. It's like 5 letters. They're all one-sided, and it's of him, like, sending them and being like, "You're not writing back. Guess I'll just have to kinda, like, hope you will. I'm sending Junior Mint, the bear that I won for you. He's really lonely. If you could write him a letter back, like, that would be nice." And it was, like, just, like, weird shit that, like, if you kept getting DMs from an ex, you'd be like, "Please stop DMing me."
God. And that also doesn't make sense. Why would he have Junior Mint? We learn in the beginning of this book she has it in her dorm room. That's a plot hole, Jenny Han.
I think he, like, went back to her house to get it.
So
Fucking stalker? Okay.
I know it's really weird because like he's obviously still like friends with Laurel, but he just writes her a lot of letters. Also, at one point in the letter, she's like having a fling in Spain with this guy, and he's like, "Hope he treats you nice," haha. And like later on is like, "Well, I would never do that to you," and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is weird."
Wow, that's so all of that's real cringe, I'll be
It
honest.
was really cringe. Um, But in
Oof.
lieu of a top 5, we still do kind of have a top 5, but since a lot of this was ending on a flash forward, we got a few flash forwards. We kind of wanted to do a Maggie and Laura segment of like a stars. Where are they now for the cast of
Yeah.
Always the Pretty Summertime?
Always the pretty summer. That sounds like the wish.com version.
I looked at my notes and it said we'll always have summer and I couldn't remember the first book title,
That's
so
so funny. Honestly, these titles are all very similar, and I get them confused in my head too.
yeah,
But yes, this is instead of in lieu of a top five. This is our five ever afters for our favorite characters from this trilogy.
absolutely.
Meg, you should absolutely start with number five.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like for number 5, we're gonna start with Steven. He was a big character sometimes, but not really. I kind of want to have like he becomes a sex wellness guru and he gives like all these TED Talks across the country after banging over 1,000 women. You know,
Yeah,
I think it
that's
kind of
beautiful.
goes
He's
nuts.
gonna be, he probably is gonna get like a PhD in like human sexuality and be like published author on it. That'd be dope.
Yeah, I think Steven becoming a sex god is incredible.
Yeah, Stephen the Sex God
Like Paul Revere.
Conklin, that's their last name. Number 4, Maggie and I went back and forth of like which character should we put it for. We decided to go with Laurel, our mom with inconsistent behaviors. We decided to lean into something that Maggie had pitched in the
Mhm.
last episode that we would do the enemies to lovers, and by the time like her and Mr. Fisher are like 65, 70, realize they're both like never gonna get married again. They decide to ride out the rest of their lives together. Um
Yeah.
and yeah, they're gonna have a very passionate and probably very resentful marriage.
Enemies to lovers cuz I feel like hate
Yeah.
fucking late into your 80s can really extend your life warranty.
I would love your backing evidence on that, Meg.
I'll tell you when I get there. Number
Perfect.
3, we're gonna thank Taylor, the hot blonde of the series. I think that she got married to a guy for a lot of money, didn't sign a prenup, divorced him, and she has a yacht now. For
Yeah.
sure, 100%.
Absolutely. And here we have Jeremiah, our guy who really got put through the ringer, honestly. Sucks to
Mhm.
be Jeremiah in this book series. But we think he has had like the biggest growth and glow up out of all of this. We feel like he has probably studied business and technology. He probably sold an app or some sort of other business idea in the very early stages, and now gets to just like travel the world as like a cool travel influencer, and he's just living the fucking life.
And for our high school, childhood sweethearts, if you wanna call them that,
Ugh.
Conrad and,
The siblings to sweethearts pipeline.
the siblings to sweethearts pipeline of Belly and Conrad, they ended up living at cousins, and we think that he's gonna cheat on her when they are both 30 years old. She is pregnant with their second baby, and the first time he like cheats on her, it's like a random person, and then later on in years when they try to make it work again, she realizes that he also cheated on her with her mom, Laurel.
Yeah, and we also said that
Is
Belly
it the Etsy shop?
forewent like doing anything with her degree, and she has an Etsy shop, and it's like for candles, and all of the candles are just like weird memories that she has with Conrad.
I feel
um
like it's like she makes t-shirts too with like one-offs or like slogans that he said that she thinks is either really funny or he comes back from doing a podcast and he's like, I said the funniest thing. So she's like, I'll put it on a t-shirt, babe.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like their relationship is Belly constantly seeking Conrad's approval still and never getting it.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
we put a lot of thought into that. I would absolutely read a fourth book of Conrad and Belly's just like effed up marriage.
Hey, we can write fan fiction of it.
I might. I haven't done a fan fiction in a minute. I do love a fan fiction. We could do it
I
together.
think it'd be really
Give me the
fun.
come to the fan fiction side.
Okay.
And I guess that leaves us with we gotta talk our canceled character for this book, Maggie. I know we've canceled him before, but I really think I have to say Conrad again. He was
Yeah.
unforgivable to me.
I really feel like Conrad, I think that like the ups and downs and the obsessiveness is like such a first love that it's like let it go. Grow a bit. We don't have to end up with the first person we love, you know?
No, I feel like God, I would love like a young adult series or like even a one-off book that's like all about your first love and then like the final chapter is a flash forward of like, hey, I realized that that person was awful to me
Yeah,
and I met somebody who I actually love and I kind of understand what that means now and I really understand the person I grew into because I went through that horrible
I
experience.
agree.
And I would never talk to that person again.
I also want to cancel the person on Twitter who said that hot girls are team Conrad. I don't know who you are, but that's not true.
But we're gonna find you and we're gonna hack into your Twitter account and we're gonna delete that tweet and tweet something about being Team Jeremiah instead.
Exactly. Joke's on you.
Joke's on you. We're coming for your Twitter account.
And if you want to follow our conquest, our crusade to take down the hot girls are for Team Conrad on Twitter, you can follow us in our journey at Yeah We Reddit on Twitter, Yeah We Reddit on TikTok. We're Meggie underscore and underscore Laura on Instagram.
And if you're that girl on Twitter that we're gonna come find, apparently, and you wanna intercept us before we get there, maybe shoot us a quick email. We're Meggie and Laura present at gmail.com. We can hash this out like adults. We don't need to make a Jeremiah and Conrad out of this, you know?
You don't need to hide behind a Conrad Fisher appreciation account. You can just email us and we will give you our
Uh,
addresses. Come to whoever's closer.
this is so
I
funny.
will
What
buy
a
you a
fun series.
coffee.
Oh my god. I'm so sad we're leaving this series because it has been so fun, but we're going to really dive into all of our thoughts and feelings of everything we've read as a whole on our wrap up episode next week where we'll also announce where our 11th season will be going.
Mhm.
And that I feel like that episode is going to be a shit show in the best possible way. You don't want to miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have fun. We'll see
Uh,
you then.
right, bye.